Hello, this week in this series we are going to see about forms, and you are going to learn about forms, and you will explore all the things that you can do with this form. First of all, we'll see what are the necessary things in these forms, and we should have this HTML head section and the body section. Inside that all this HTML code, divs and all the classes. Here I am using Bootstrap styling. Let's go to browser and see this page. Localhost /php forms. I have created this directory and I am using exam server. It's already started and running. Here you can see I have these two directories and this form.php file. This is a form.php file with the first name, last name, email and gender, age. These are the fields, and we'll see how we can submit this data and adding a PHP validations, all these things. And for this form we need this basic HTML. Till here all this it's a similar, and after that it's a form opening tag. From here to here, form opening and form closing, form opening and form closing. After that these are HTML tags for all these divs, and closing body section and closing HTML. Okay, here I am using Bootstrap for styling this form. This is an input field for first name, and here we need this input tag. It's a class for applying the styles and a placeholder for displaying a placeholder text inside this form input field. Here if I see, it's a first name. This is a placeholder. If I update to your first name, it should update. This placeholder text is for displaying the text before typing user. If the user types something, my name, this won't appear. This placeholder attribute is for displaying text to user, that is a visitor who wants to submit the form or the user. After seeing this placeholder text, user can understand what this input field is for. Here I am putting it back to first name, and the name is fname. We'll see about these names after submitting the form. We are going to check these values based on this name attribute for this input fields, and the type is text. We have different types of input fields, text, email and password, number, and a lot of input fields we have. And autofocus, if I reload the page, by default this first name field is selected. If I move this auto select to this field, last name field, after reloading, now the last name field is selected. We'll use autofocus for selecting the input field. By default it will be added to the first input field. Okay, and here is a second input field, that is a last name. Everything is similar. Input field and the placeholder text, last name, and the name is last name. We'll see how we are going to use this name attribute, and the type is text. We can add one more attribute, that is a value attribute. We'll see value attribute in the next videos. And here is for email. It's an input field, placeholder text is email, and a name email. Here is a type email. For text input fields, it will accept anything, any text, any numbers, and for email input field it will accept only email. For email input fields it will accept only email values. It won't accept text or numbers. Only in the format of emails it will accept. Otherwise you will see an error when we add a required attribute to this input field. We'll see that. And here is this for radio buttons, input type radio, name, gender, and value. We can add IDs and classes for all these input fields. Here we have added a class, and here it's an ID. So if you are using a JavaScript or jQuery to read these values, you can use IDs, or for styling also you can use, and a value attribute. Here it's a mail, and checked attribute is for selecting this radio button. By default this radio button is selected because checked attribute is applied for this first radio button. If I am going to move this checked attribute to here, now after reloading this form, I should see female is selected. by applying this checked attribute, these input fields are selected. Input radio buttons. It's a type radio. Previously it was a type text and a type email. Here it's a type radio and a name is a similar. Value. We don't have a value attribute for this first name, last name and email. We'll see that later. But for radio buttons we should add a value attribute. It's a value is male by default because we won't be able to enter the values for radio buttons and checkboxes. So we'll pass this value attribute by default. It's a male. And the second button also it's the same, type radio and a name, gender, value is female, and it's a text that is going to be displayed. This value will pass after submitting the form, and this value is for display purposes to user, end user. And here is a select list. Name is age. We'll see how we are going to use this name attribute. After submitting the form you will understand. And a class for adding styles. First option is select your age. We won't be able to use this option. These are the options for sending the values. Here you see these are the options. Select your age is to letting the user know that she should select age, and these are the values inside this select list. And we have added value for these values. By default for this one it will be empty. We'll see how we should add this and while working on validations. After that it's a submit button. Input type submit and the class styles. After that it's a value submit. That's it. And one more thing that you should remember is for opening form tag you should always add a method. We'll submit the forms with a post method, and if you want to use a get method you don't have to specify it, just you can save it without method attribute for a form input tag. If you want to use a post method you should add a method and post. We'll see what are these get methods and post methods in a next video while adding a form validations. Before going there, let's just submit this form. What's happening? I have submitted this form, nothing is happening. If I remove this method post, this form should be submitted with the get method. Now you see the URL, it's just a form.php. After submitting the form, just observe the URL. Now you can see these are for form. After submitting with a get method, by default it's submitted with the get method. All these values will be passed in the URL. In PHP, if you have learned about get method, we'll pass values in URL so that we can read through get superglobal. Here we are not going to use a get superglobal, we'll use a post superglobal. For that we should pass method post. And if we use get method, these values can be seen by other users, and if we use post method, these values will be submitted with a post method and no one knows about these values through URL or any other method. Just it's submitted through post method and we are going to read it with post superglobal. I'll see that how we can use that post superglobal in next video while adding the PHP form validations. If you want to learn more about forms, do check out the videos in this series. And if you want to learn it with a project, I am going to provide links in the description. Do check out the courses. Thank you for watching my video. Do subscribe to my channel.